Ted Nugent and cat scratch fever. Some of the guys here at Sun News went down to Las Vegas recently for the SHOT Show, huge gun convention in Las Vegas. They took their cameras. They didn't take me, but they did meet up with Ted Nugent. Here's Bryn Weiss's conversation with the master musician and master hunter.
What's been your experience with hunting and firearms in Canada over the past few decades as you've been going up there hunting and rocking out?
Well, first we'll start with the good. There's always good, bad, and ugly. So let's celebrate the good first, shall we? The good is that the Canadian spirit, the Canadian hospitality is perfect. Great families. You have a great success in wildlife management. You have more bear, you have more wolves, you have more deer and moose and elk and caribou. You have all these wonderful wildlife resources that are thriving. So I'd like to give a tip of the old Nuge cowboy hat to the Ministry of Natural Resources, and that's nationwide up there is the title. Yeah, and more important than the bureaucracy that oversees it, and that is the hunting families, the farmers, the ranchers, the people who cherish the connection with wildlife. They're the ones who were the driving force. It was the people of Canada that demanded regulations based on sustained yield and the carrying capacity of habitat, making sure that maximum dollars go to safeguard habitat. So a salute to all of them, and a salute to all the gun owners in Canada. So that's the good. Now let's move on to the bad and the ugly, shall we?
I'm worried about the ugly.
Well, and it is ugly. I did an interview in a radio station, a talk show one time in Thunder Bay, and he, it's always interesting to have an interview where there's a bit of a point-counterpoint, and there's no rule against prodding a little contentious spirit. It makes for a good debate. But if you debate me, you will lose. And he tried to express how Americans, and especially this American, are obsessed with handguns and firearms. And I said, you couldn't be more wrong. And I think I'll just cut to the chase here. And there was a Canadian Tire store nearby. And of course, I'm in Canada bear hunting. And a lot of people will resist this. My good friend Jim Shockey attempted to resist this line of reasoning and this logic, but he acquiesced shortly thereafter. I'm bear hunting in Canada. I'm bear hunting. Doesn't matter where. I'm hunting with a bow and arrow. I would challenge any human being, and when they do, they always lose, if they're ignorant enough to take this challenge, to explain in logical terms why there would be a law that a man hunting bears with a bow and arrow should not be allowed to carry a .44 Magnum handgun on his side. You can't rationalize that. That's why they made .44 Magnum handguns, is for life protection in bear country when the possibility of wounding a bear exists. Well, this radio guy attempted to tell me that that's why there's crime in America, is because bow hunters might have a handgun on their belt. Of course, there's no record of any bow hunter committing a crime with a handgun on their belt, and even though there's millions of them. Yeah. And so I asked the following questions that I would pose to my friends in Canada. So at the Canadian Tire store down the street, can a 12-year-old boy walk in there and buy a blowtorch? Sure. Does he need a government training certificate to buy that blowtorch? No. Can I just wander in there without any training or any permit? Can I buy a chainsaw? Without any proof that I know how to operate it? Wow, that's fascinating. How about a wood chipper? A wood chipper without a government permit? How about a coping saw or a hacksaw? How about a maul? Yeah. Or a double-edged axe? And I said, I'll tell you who's obsessed with handguns. You guys are, because I just listed a bunch of tools that are far more dangerous than any handgun I might carry. And you don't need any of that bureaucratic quagmire, hoops and firestorms to rush through in order to get that tool. So it's a tragedy that America established an experiment in self-government that defied the oppression and the criminality and the abusive power of kings and emperors, but there's still an essence of that in Canada. And that a guy that just wants to trap beaver and muskrat and mink and fisher, what does he have to go through to get a .22 revolver? You can't rationalize that unless you admit, or because of the brainwashing, are incapable of admitting you're brainwashed. Here's the facts. In every jurisdiction globally, particularly emphatic in the United States of America, where there are more citizens with loaded firearms on their belt, not only does crime rate go down, not only is there a dramatic reduction in violent crime, but certain personal assaultive crimes like carjacking and rape, they don't go down, they go away. Who's for that? I'm for that.
I'm for that too, because the guy may have a gun, and it's.
Conversely, in Chicago, a gun-free zone, or Toronto, a gun-free zone, people are shooting each other like the rats they are because criminals don't care what your laws are. And the evidence is overwhelmingly, conclusively in support of what I just told you, and not against the embarrassment, the criminality of your government C-68 that I praise Canada and the activists in Canada who overturned that draconian, outrageous, criminally supportive gun law of C-68. So that's some good in the vapor trail of some bad and the ugly. But until a Canadian can say, I'm going bow hunting for bear and I'd like to carry a revolver with me, until a Canadian can do that, you're not free. Case closed.
All right, Ted Nugent does know Canada, not just from touring with his music, but from his hunting. Share your thoughts on Facebook. We'll post some links to Ted's hunting exploits across the country.